Today I'm going to be talking about the subject of freedom and healing. How do we say that we're free? How do we accomplish this freedom in our life? How do we accomplish healing? And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about that, maybe some misconceptions about that, and also just some practical ways that we can actually become free. We can actually walk in freedom and not just hear those really cool coin terms. So let's go ahead and get started. So I had to ask myself, did I really want to be free, or did I just like the idea of being free? So that's a really important question to ask yourself. Am I willing to do whatever it takes to be free, or do I want somebody else to do it for me? And that's a really complicated question to answer. Sometimes it just takes more than a simple yes or no to answer that kind of question. There's really things you have to think about based on, your past. What is it that you've been through? Have you experienced trauma? Have you experienced things that that are just complicated and hard? Have you faced being abandoned? Have you faced abuse? Have you faced shame or guilt or pain or loss or grief? Is there something in your life that's still got this hold on you? Have you walked through this really dark season that feels like it still owns you? Do you want to be free from those things? And sometimes the seemingly simple answer is yes, but it's hard to say yes to something you don't understand how to accomplish. So for me, that was the problem. For me, I didn't understand how to accomplish freedom, so I was afraid to say yes. And also, I was afraid of what it might cost me to be free. I had not realized the cost I was paying to be in bondage. So I had not necessarily been willing to accept the cost of being free. And the price is free to be free. But I didn't know that. I thought that there was so much more to it. I just didn't understand. So once I understood what freedom really meant and what freedom could do for me, of course the answer was yes. And the enemy will keep us focused on the things that have happened to us, or the things that we've been through that have maybe caused us, to feel like we're in bondage to something, or to not just feel like it, but truly be in bondage to it. He will keep reminding us of those things. He wants us to be trapped in a web of lies. He wants us to be trapped in this deceit that we're alone, and we have to just deal with this kind of life, and this is just the way it is. It's the way it's always been, and it's the way it'll always be. And that's just not true. It's just not true. It's not. And I didn't realize that because I fed myself that lie. So often I fed myself this continued thought that it's always been this way. Just like I said, it'll always be this way. It'll never be any different. I'll never be truly free. I'll never know how to be normal. Whatever normal is. I don't think anybody's normal. I'm still not normal, but the idea of being free, to me. So, there's good news. There's good news I didn't know, but the good news is that there's a way out, but it is up to us. It is up to us. God gives us a way out, a way to be free, but we have to choose it. And he's such a respecter and such a gentleman. He's never going to force us to do anything. So I had to choose to be free. And once I made the choice, then I could get to work on figuring out really what does that mean. And I could partner with him. I began to partner with God and ask him, okay, so how do I get free? Yes, God, how do I get free? But I just had to ask him, what is needed to live free? And, I want to share a scripture with you in Galatians. Galatians is a really great short little book in the Bible that I really love. And it's brought me a lot of freedom because I have been in bondage to a lot of things, like feeling like the need to perform, feeling the need that I had to do it all, be it all, do it perfectly, never mess anything up, ideas, all these just really terrible false lies. There were lies that I had thought were truth. So in Galatians 5 verse 1, it says, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by the yoke of slavery. So I wanted to be free. So Christ came to set me free so that I could be free and that I was not supposed to go back into slavery. So once I got free, I needed to stay free. And so I had to accept that freedom was real. That freedom really did come for me. But in my journey to learn what it is to live free and to be a victim no more, to be victorious, I had to learn what it meant to be healed. And I had to get healed of a lot of things. I had to release pain and release unforgiveness and release ideas that I had about the way things were, or the way things should have been, or always were going to be. And I came across this story a few years ago. I had heard it several times. If you've been in church, you've probably heard this story too. If you've been in a Bible study, you've probably heard this story, but it never spoke to me. And one day it did. One day, I guess I had just gotten so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I had gotten so fed up with myself. I had been so tired of listening to who I was up here. Like I couldn't stand myself anymore. I was so negative and so just bitter and angry from all the things that had happened to me in the past. And I kept looking at those things and blaming my circumstances and blaming what other people did to me, and then blaming things I was doing to myself for, blaming someone else for those things that I was even doing to myself. So it's just, I had gotten to a really ugly place, and I didn't like it anymore. And I was ready to be healed of it. I was ready to let go of the yuck that was in me and to just say, okay, I want to be healed. And I came across this story. This story is in John chapter 5, and it starts in verse 2, where it says that Jesus was in Jerusalem and he had passed by this pool. Okay, this pool was called Bethesda, and it was a healing pool. And in verse 5, he says, this is a story of Jesus passing this pool. And he saw a man who had been laying, an invalid. He was laying by the pool for 38 years. And when Jesus saw him laying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" And let's just pause right here for a second, because what the heck, Jesus? Yes, he would want to be healed. Why would he not want to be healed? That was my first thought. Like, what do you mean, do you want to be healed? He's an invalid. He's been laying on the ground, can do nothing for 38 years. Why would he not want to be healed? You came to heal. Why would you have asked him that? I was almost like really offended at first. I was like, what do you mean? So Jesus kind of said to me in that moment of me going, what? He said, hey, hold on. I'm going to show you something. You have to want to be healed to be healed. Some people don't want to be healed. Some people are content to stay in their junk. They're content to stay a victim. They're content to, continue to pull pity out of people. They're content to have their hand out constantly, expecting others to do things for them. They're content with that. But if you're not content with that anymore, if you don't want that, do you want to be healed? To me, to myself, to me, not to the man in this story, but to me, he said that. And I said, well, I don't know. Maybe, possibly. Okay, yeah, I think I want to be healed. Yeah, yes, I do. That's kind of how it went. I'm never really very definitive at first. I always go, oh, I don't know, and then I make my choice. Okay, so let's continue with the story. So he said, okay, so the man replies to Jesus after he asked him, do you want to be healed? He says, sir, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. Because when the water was stirred, the first person that could get into the pool would be healed, okay? The angel would come and stir the water, if you didn't know the backstory to that. When I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. And that was my mentality too. Okay, yeah, I probably want to be healed, Jesus, but you know what? Everybody else is getting healed before me. Everybody else is getting free. Everybody's in my way. I can't ever seem to get there, like complaining and having an excuse. was my typical reactions to why I wasn't getting healed. And that's why when I read this, I thought, okay, like, wow. Okay, then verse 8. Then Jesus said to him, after he complained, all Jesus said was, get up, pick up your mat and walk. Okay. So he didn't even acknowledge the excuses. He didn't even speak to the excuses. He didn't even give him not 1 second of his time. He just said, get up your mat, pick up your mat and walk. Get up, pick up your mat and walk. Okay. And at once the man was healed, he picked up his mat and walked. Okay. So the man picked up his mat and walked meant that if he was going to be healed, he was going to have to do something after he was healed. There was going to be an expectation on his life after this point. He could no longer lay at the gate and beg. He could no longer lay and make excuses for why he wasn't taking responsibility for his life. Okay. And that, I had to really think about that. And I had to ask God to help me to take up my mat and walk. Help me to pick it up. Help me not do it for me, but help me to be okay with doing it myself. Help me to be willing to say, yes, I want to be free. Yes, I'm willing to be healed. Yes, and I'm willing to take responsibility for what that means after I'm healed. And that means I cannot go back to the excuses that I used to ride on, so to speak. I can't go back to the pointing my finger at it's someone else's fault why I'm not healed. It's someone else's fault why I'm still dealing with these same issues or battling these same problems in my life. But it was my responsibility then. And there's more to that story, but I'm just going to stop right there, and you can read through the rest of it. It's just a really short, tiny little chapter. But healing and freedom they're hand in hand, okay? Because that man, once he was healed, he then had the freedom to move. Then he had the freedom to get up. He had the freedom to go and start his life. And I was scared of that for a while. I was scared of the freedom. And I'll talk about that in another time. But once I became free, because I had learned to live in chains, I had learned to live in a certain way, because we're creatures of habit. Once we've been doing something so long, we've been conditioned to do it so long the same way, we just kind of, that's our norm. And when our norm has been ripped away from us and we start feeling like vulnerable, like we don't know what to do, we can tend to want to revert back to what we know, and what we know is what kept us in bondage and what kept us in the problems and the other issues that we were facing in the first place. So, I just had to, I guess I had to resist the urge. That's the word. Sorry, I was looking for, resist the urge to go back and say, I am no longer the invalid. I am no longer a victim, but I am healed. I am victorious, and I will live a victorious life, because Jesus said in Galatians, he came because Christ came to set me free. He wants me to be free, and I'm not supposed to go back. I'm not supposed to go back. So that's all I wanted to say for today. Honestly, this is a big subject. It's got there's a lot out on the internet about, living a free life in Christ. There's a lot in the Word of God first. There's books out there. There's just so many things that you can, resources, there's counseling, there's things you can do to learn what it means to be free. But the truth is, you can know everything there is to know about a subject, but until you put it into action, until you decide to take action, until you decide to put those things in place in your life, then you're going to continue down the same path that you were on before, even knowing all the information you know. Because information is not power. Applied information is power. And I had to learn that the hard way. I would know a lot of things, but I wouldn't do anything about them. So once I decided, oh, I know this, maybe I should do something about it, then true freedom began to come in my life, and true change began to come in my life. So anyways, if any of this was helpful to you, I would really appreciate you giving this video a thumbs up. And if you like this content, I'm going to be putting out constantly content like this. You know, I can't say a specific schedule I post videos because I'm a crazy busy mom and I work a full-time job and I'm writing a book. So I have a lot going on. But if you want to read more also about these type of subjects, you can go check out my blog. I'll post a link to that in the description below. And you can just go to my website, towrighthisheart.com, and check out some just shorter, you know, things that God has shown me in my life and some things that I've been able to overcome, and maybe that will bring you some freedom. Also, please subscribe to my channel so that you can be updated when I post new videos, and hopefully I try to do it once a week. Sometimes it goes a little bit over the week mark, but there's grace. Thank you for that. And I just appreciate you guys listening today, and I would love to hear from you. What is it that you would like to gain freedom from in your life? And I can be praying for you in those areas. And I would love to hear from you, so just post those in the comments. Thanks for watching with me today. I hope that you were encouraged and you have a great day. Bye.